Some Fly More kits have been DOA, which is dead on arrival, based on reviews. My Fly More kit was totally fine. I've had some weird battery errors, but just pulling them out of the drone and then charging them, putting back in, does not net any more errors, and they kind of fix themselves. I think it might be just a temperature thing that was the reason for it. Don't fly these too hot, always try to land them, and you should have no problems. But if they are dead on arrival, probably want to contact DJI as soon as possible about the issue. That's it for FPV battery charging hub, which is right here. We're going to be taking a look at the DJI FPV batteries. So these are intelligent flight batteries. They are lithium ion polymer based. They have a small circuit board inside, which makes them the intelligent part. They will automatically discharge if you haven't used them in a long time like me. So I fully charged these about a week ago. Pressing them now, you can see it slowly discharged a little bit. They understand that you sometimes won't be flying them a lot, so they go into a state where they will remain healthy. All of these are like that as well. So looking at each of these batteries, we can get a little bit of information about them. And then they also have a power station, which I would recommend for prolonging your flight when you're out, especially if you have a limited supply of batteries. This is pretty good. Out of the way, each battery costs about $150, which is pretty steep for a battery. And DJI only rates them for 100 fly times, which does not really feel like a lot to me, especially if you're just learning this. You're going to want to fly it a lot. So looking at the battery itself, we can see some more specs on it. Now, it might be a little bit blurry because the text is extremely tiny, but it is saying that it's a lithium ion polymer rechargeable battery. Tells you the model number and the maximum charge voltage. So it'll charge at a maximum voltage of about 25 volts. The normal voltage is about 22 volts, and we have its rated capacity, which is about 2000 milliamps or 44.4 watt hours. That's important to keep in mind for what we're going to be bringing up in a second. So when you charge this, you're going to have 44.4 watts inside of here, right? So that's voltage times current. Now, if you need something to power this, like let's say on the go, you're going to need at least 44.4 watts of charge. Well, I got a portable power station right here. It has one AC outlet right here. If you turn it on, you press the AC button, it can charge your device. Turning it on, it looks like this. You press the AC button, a small fan kicks on, and it's ready to start charging. Now, there is a hole here for the grounding pin, but it's not going to be grounded because there's nothing to ground into. It's just a small hole here. We have these two prongs, and they will start charging your batteries. Now, this one will be in the description below the like button. On sale, it's $100. The list price is $150. For $150, I think there are better ones out there, but for $100, I think this one is a pretty good deal because this is $100. And although these are smaller and more convenient, this would be ideal, right, for $150, right? But if this, at its list price for $150, is 155 watt hours, that means if these are 44 watt hours, this being 155, you can charge your batteries, you can charge all four of these with just this one power bank. It's not terribly heavy, especially if you have just a little bit of strength too. You could carry this around all day, to be honest. I did around San Francisco, and it was no big deal whatsoever. I was able to fly 8 times because of this helping me charge. There's a DC input right here where you're able to charge it just like at an outlet. You could also charge your goggle batteries and your remote just from here. So this could power everything. If you charge everything off of this, you probably won't get as much charge. I would bring a separate power bank for the smaller peripherals to charge those and leave this one for the batteries. But if you want just everything, you could carry this by itself. You can even probably just attach this with a carabiner to the DJI backpack. So again, this is 44 watt hours. Now you don't want to fly your batteries down to 0, so let's say this is 40 watt hours. And this will round down to about, well, we can round it up to about 160 watt hours. So again, that will net you about 4 charges, or at least 3.5 charges. So I would totally recommend this. This is in the description below the like button. And this battery you can get with a Fly More kit, or you can get the battery itself. I would recommend getting the Fly More kit since it's about $290. You can get on Amazon, and each battery is $150. So you get the adapter and the batteries for about $10 less. That's all for the DJI batteries. If you want to know more about the AC to DC power adapter, That will be in its own video with the DJI Fly More. And if you want more drone videos, that will be in the playlist below the like button. One other thing that I got for this quad was this. It's a battery protective cover. I've seen it on a lot of the drones so far. It's super simple. It's only about a little bit less than $10, and it'll elevate the drone so it protects the battery from shock and dust. I had this on when I was flying and taking off from dirty places, and we can see it looks like this. Now, some dirt still gets all over the battery, but it is definitely not as bad. You can see that the LED lights are a little bit dim. It's not as bad as having it completely off. Putting this on keeps the battery a lot cleaner, and so I always use it when I'm flying in dirty areas. Now, if I'm just practicing in a park, I probably won't use it, and I'll just use the battery itself. But it does also protect against shock because it has these longer landing nubs or landing gear versus the short one that these slide into. And it slides in very nicely. It holds the battery in very securely. So this is another accessory that I use very inexpensively and would recommend. Now we're going to be taking a look at the battery protection LED display. So we have a table here, and this is pulled from a post on Reddit through the DJI FPV subreddit, and there's a lot of nice information in there. So we have some battery level indicators while charging. We know we have 4 LEDs here, and we have our blinking pattern. So they're going to be listed here. If our LED 2, this second one, blinks twice per second, we have an overcurrent detection. Now, if LED 2 blinks 3 times per second, we have a short circuit detection. This is nice that they have them both on the same LED because it can be hard to decipher these two, but you can tell that both of these are kind of bad. And for an overcurrent and short circuit detection, you'd probably want to unplug this battery from any type of power in or power out and just let it cool down, and then try to charge it later. Next, we have LED 3 blinks twice per second, and if LED 3 blinks twice per second, we have an overcharge detection. If our LED 3 blinks 3 times per second, we have an overvoltage charger detected. So this shouldn't happen if you're using the correct DJI chargers, which you should always use for safety. So we have our LED 3 that should never go off for doing it correctly. Next, we have our LED 4, and if it blinks twice per second, we have our charging temperature is too low. So this has happened to me a couple times where the fourth one, when I plug it in, it's too low, it won't charge, it'll have to warm the battery up a little bit. Next, we have LED 4, blinks 3 times per second, means the charging temperature is too high. And that means it's just going to wait for the battery to cool down a little bit before it starts charging, but everything is okay. So if we have no LEDs blinking, or if we have LED 4, we are fine only when we have our middle ones blinking. So remember, middle means bad. We don't want that. After these issues are resolved, press the power button to turn off the battery level indicator. Unplug the intelligent flight battery from the charger and plug it back in to resume charging. You do not need to unplug and plug in the charger in the event of a room temperature error. The charger will resume charging when the temperature is in allowable range. And DJI does not take responsibility for damage caused by third-party chargers, so always use the one that's included or the ones that are linked below the like button in the description. We talked about this in a previous video with the AC to DC power adapter. It's a whole nice kit that you can get on eBay for about $40. It's a genuine DJI FPV drone AC to DC power charger. And then we have our discharge note. How to discharge the intelligent flight battery before transport of the batteries for a long trip. It says to fly the Maverick Pro outdoors, but I'm sure this is the same thing for a DJI FPV, until there's less than 20% power left, or until the battery can no longer be turned on. So if we want to discharge the battery before transporting it or not flying it for a long time, it's probably better to discharge it, I would say, to halfway, and then just let it discharge, let it do its thing until you're ready to fly again. Put it on the charger and start charging it to get ready for another flight. And that's it for a battery protection LED display. Again, got off Reddit. The subreddit will be linked below the like button in the description as well.